The Galactic Council chamber was the largest room Ambassador Elena Vasquez had ever seen. It stretched upward for nearly a kilometer, with floating platforms arranged in circles around a central speaking area. 847 species had sent their representatives here, to the neutral station called Concordance Prime. The air smelled strange, a mix of chemicals designed to keep everyone alive without making anyone comfortable. Elena stood on humanity's platform, a small disk near the outer edge of the chamber. This position showed Earth's status clearly. Junior members sat at the edges. Important species sat near the center. Humanity had been part of this council for 50 years now, and they had not moved any closer to the middle. She adjusted her formal uniform and watched the other delegates arrive. The crystalline hegemony floated past on platforms made of living glass. The Taurelian Syndicate slithered into position, their snake-like bodies coiling around specially designed seats. And then came the Veth Dominion, the oldest and most powerful civilization in known space. Lord Kesrath led the Veth delegation. He stood 3 meters tall, with dark blue skin covered in ceremonial scars. His 4 eyes scanned the chamber with obvious boredom. The Veth had ruled this part of the galaxy for 10,000 years. To them, everyone else was a child. The session began with routine business. Trade agreements were renewed. Border disputes were settled. Elena voted when required, and stayed silent otherwise. This was how humanity operated in the Council. They followed the rules. They accepted every restriction placed upon them. They never complained. Some humans called this strategy wise. Others called it cowardly. Elena simply called it necessary. Then Lord Kesarath requested the floor for a special address. "Fellow members of this great council," he began, his voice booming through translation devices. "Today marks the 50th anniversary of humanity's admission to our gathering. I believe this occasion deserves recognition." Elena felt her stomach tighten. The way Kesarath spoke those words contained no warmth. A massive holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. Images began to play. They showed Earth's history, but only the worst parts. Wars, genocide, environmental destruction, nuclear explosions. The footage went on and on, showing humanity at its absolute worst. "These creatures," Kesarath continued, "came to us 50 years ago begging for acceptance. They promised they had changed. They promised they were civilized now." He laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "And we, in our generous wisdom, believed them." More images appeared. These showed human colonies struggling on marginal worlds, human ships that looked tiny next to alien vessels, human diplomats signing unfavorable treaties with grateful smiles. "Look at them now, the galaxy's charity case. We give them the worst territories. We charge them the highest fees. We restrict their movements and their technology. And still they thank us for the opportunity." Laughter spread through the chamber. Hundreds of alien voices joined together in amusement at humanity's expense. Elena kept her face completely still. She had trained for moments like this. The crystalline hegemony's representative spoke next. "Perhaps we have been too generous. The shipping lanes we allow humans to use could be put to better purpose. I propose we reduce their access by 40%. "An excellent suggestion," said the Taurelian Syndicate's delegate. "And their tribute payments have remained the same for a decade. Surely an increase is justified. They should be grateful for our protection." More voices joined in. Species that had never spoken to humans before now competed to suggest new restrictions, new fees, new humiliations. Lord Kesrath watched it all with a satisfied smile. "You see, Ambassador Vasquez, this is your place in the galaxy. This is what humanity deserves. Perhaps in another 1,000 years, if you behave yourselves, we might consider treating you as something more than pets." Every eye in the chamber turned to Elena. They expected her to beg, to apologize, to promise that humanity would try harder to please their masters. Elena took a slow breath. She activated her platform's communication system and spoke clearly. I thank the Council for this honest display of their feelings toward humanity. It is valuable to understand where we truly stand. She paused, looking around the vast chamber. I have no response to offer at this time. I will report these proceedings to my government and await their instructions. Kesraf snorted with contempt. Of course you will. Run home to your little planet. Tell them to prepare for the new restrictions. The Council has spoken. Elena gave a small bow, showing exactly the right amount of respect and nothing more. Then she left the chamber. Her ship departed Concordance Prime within the hour. During the journey back to Earth, she wrote her report. It was short. At the end, she added a single recommendation. They have shown us who they are. I suggest we show them who we are. 3 days later, Elena stood before the United Terran government in Geneva. The Secretary General, Marcus Chen, sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by the most powerful humans alive. They had all watched the recording of the council session. They had all seen their species mocked and humiliated. Well, said Secretary General Chen, his voice quiet and controlled, I suppose we always knew this day might come. The question is how we respond, said General Victoria Santos, head of Earth's Defense Forces. Do we continue playing their game, or do we finally play our own? Chen looked around the table. He saw anger in every face, but he also saw something else. Readiness. 50 years, he said. 50 years we have prepared for the possibility that the galaxy would never accept us as equals. 50 years of hidden work, hidden fleets, hidden technology. He stood up slowly. I think it is time. He walked to a secure terminal and entered his personal code. A file appeared on screen, marked with the highest security classification Earth possessed. Prometheus Contingency. Send the notifications, Chen said. Every sleeper agent, every hidden asset, every corporation that has been waiting for this signal. He looked at Elena, and for the first time since the council session, she saw him smile. The galaxy wanted to see humanity's true face. Let's show them. Within hours, messages began traveling across the stars. Humans who had lived for decades on alien worlds received simple instructions. Ships that had been waiting in darkness powered up their engines. Factories that produced innocent goods began manufacturing something else entirely. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. The first sign that something was wrong came on the agricultural world of Veth Prime. Farmer Kesix walked through his fields at dawn, expecting to see the tall golden crops that fed 3 billion people. Instead, he found death. Every plant had turned black overnight. They crumbled to dust when he touched them. He ran to his neighbor's farm. Same thing. He checked the emergency networks. Reports were coming in from every continent. The miracle crops that the Veth Dominion had grown for 30 years were dying all at once. These crops had been licensed from a human company called Terraseed Genetics. The Veth had thought nothing of it at the time. Humans were good at biological sciences. Everyone knew that. And the licensing agreement had seemed so reasonable. Now Keswick stood in his ruined field and wondered if he had missed something in the contract. Across the galaxy, on the crystalline homeworld of the hegemony, the matriarchs stared at dark screens and silent speakers. Their entire communication network had collapsed without warning. No messages could be sent between worlds. No ships could coordinate their movements. The hegemony was blind and deaf. What happened? The matriarch demanded. Her advisors scrambled to find answers. The quantum communication system that connected their empire had been designed with human help. Human engineers had solved problems that crystalline scientists had struggled with for centuries. In exchange, Humans had been paid modest fees and given very little credit. Now those same systems displayed a single message before going dark. Please contact Terran Communications Authority for renewal. The matriarch tried to contact Earth. Nothing worked. On 17 different worlds, hospitals reported that their medical equipment had stopped functioning. The nanobots that healed wounds and fought diseases had gone dormant. When doctors examined the tiny machines, they found human patents embedded in every design. The Tyrellian Syndicate discovered that their jump drives, the engines that let ships travel faster than light, contained human stabilization software. Without it, the drives became bombs waiting to explode. In the Galactic Council chamber, Lord Kesrath received reports of disaster after disaster. His 4 eyes grew wide with fury and confusion. "This is impossible," he said. "Humans are primitives. They have no power over us." But the evidence told a different story. For 50 years, humanity had presented themselves as eager students, learning from their betters. They had offered their services cheaply. They had solved problems that other species found difficult. They had made themselves useful in 1,000 small ways. No one had noticed how those small ways connected together. Human financial services handled trade between 100 species. Human entertainment companies produced content that billions of aliens watched daily. Human shipping companies moved goods that other species depended on. Human consultants worked in governments across the galaxy. And now, all of it was stopping. The Council received a formal communication from Earth. Secretary General Marcus Chen appeared on screen, his face calm and serious. "To all members of the Galactic Council," he said, "the United Terran Government hereby provides notice of our withdrawal from all treaties, agreements, and accords currently binding humanity. This includes trade agreements, defense pacts, technology licenses, and cultural exchanges. Effective immediately." The number appeared on screen, 2,847 separate agreements, nullified with a single announcement. Chen continued, "For 50 years, humanity has been a loyal and contributing member of galactic civilization. We have shared our technology, our labor, and our creativity freely. We asked only for respect in return." His expression hardened. That respect was not given. Therefore, we withdraw our contributions. Lord Kesrath grabbed the communication controls. "This is outrageous. You cannot simply break your agreements. There will be consequences." Chen smiled slightly. "We are aware of the consequences, Lord Kesrath. Are you?" The connection ended. Within days, the true scope of humanity's integration became clear. They had not conquered anyone. They had not threatened anyone. They had simply made themselves necessary. The Veth Dominion faced famine without human crops. The crystalline hegemony faced isolation without human communications. The Tyrellian Syndicate faced the choice between grounded ships and potential explosions. A dozen other species faced a dozen other crises. Ambassador Elena Vasquez gave a press conference from Earth. Alien journalists shouted questions at her. "Why are you doing this? What do you want?" Elena kept her voice steady. "We want nothing more than we always wanted. Respect, fair treatment, and equal place in galactic civilization." She paused. "You were unwilling to give us those things when we asked politely. Perhaps you will reconsider now." "This is blackmail," shouted a Veth reporter. "This is commerce," Elena replied. "We provided services. You paid for those services. Now we have chosen to stop providing those services. That is our right." Lord Kesrath sent an angry message demanding that Earth restore all systems immediately. He threatened military action. He promised terrible punishment. Elena's response was broadcast across every functional network in the galaxy. "Lord Kesrath, 3 days ago, you called humanity the galaxy's charity case. You laughed at our weakness. You encouraged others to increase their exploitation of our people." She leaned forward. If we are so weak and pathetic, surely you do not need us. Surely you can solve these small problems without human help." She smiled, and there was no warmth in it. "We will be here when you are ready to speak to us as equals. Until then, we have nothing to discuss." Meanwhile, deep in space, something else was happening. Taurelian observers reported unusual activity in the outer regions of Earth's solar system. Ships were moving there, hundreds of them. They were coming from hiding places that no one had known existed. A Taurelian admiral sent scouts to investigate. The scouts sent back images before contact was lost. The images showed warships, human warships, massive vessels covered in weapons that defied classification. Fleet after fleet emerging from the darkness of deep space. The admiral stared at the images and felt something she had not felt in decades: fear. The charity case had teeth, and the galaxy was only beginning to understand how sharp they were. In the cold darkness beyond Neptune, Admiral James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the TES Prometheus and watched his fleet awaken. For 30 years, these ships had waited in silence. Their crews had trained in secret. Their weapons had never been tested against a real enemy. Now, the waiting was over. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," said his executive officer. 400 capital ships, 2,000 cruisers, 8,000 support vessels. The Prometheus fleet is at your command. Okonkwo nodded slowly. He was 73 years old. He had joined this secret program as a young lieutenant, believing he would never see it activated. Part of him had hoped he never would. "Begin formation movement," he ordered. "Let them see us." Across the galaxy, alien sensors detected the impossible. Ships appeared where no ships should exist. They emerged from asteroid fields, from the atmospheres of gas giants, from pockets of folded space that should not have been possible to create. The Galactic Council demanded an emergency session. How could humanity have built this fleet? Where had they hidden it? What kind of weapons did these strange vessels carry? On Earth, Dr. Yuki Tanaka sat before a panel of government officials and explained everything. "When humanity made first contact 50 years ago," she began, "our leaders faced a difficult choice. The galaxy presented itself as a peaceful community of civilized species. But our analysts saw something different." She displayed charts showing resource extraction rates, military buildups, and territorial expansion by elder species. The galactic community was not peaceful. It was merely stable. The strong exploited the weak, and everyone accepted this as natural. When species complained, they disappeared. When species resisted, they were crushed. Tanaka stood and walked to a large display showing the Prometheus fleet. "Our leaders decided that survival required preparation. If the galaxy ever turned against us, we needed to be ready. But we could not prepare openly. Any sign of military buildup would have given elder species an excuse to destroy us." "So you hid everything," said a council member. "We hid everything," Tanaka confirmed. "We built shipyards in the Oort cloud beyond the range of alien sensors. We developed technology in secret laboratories on moons and asteroids. We created weapons that the galaxy believed were impossible." She showed images of human weapon systems, kinetic accelerators that fired projectiles at 90% of light speed, drone swarms that could reproduce themselves using enemy materials, ships with hulls that healed damage within seconds. The galactic community believed that certain technologies could not be developed. They had tried and failed centuries ago, so they assumed no one else could succeed. Tanaka smiled grimly. They did not account for human stubbornness. General Victoria Santos took over the briefing. "Our strategy was simple. We made ourselves economically necessary while secretly building military capability. If the galaxy accepted us as equals, we would never need to reveal our true strength. If they rejected us, we would have options. And now we have been rejected, said Secretary General Chen. Now we have been rejected, Santos agreed. The question is what we do next. Debate filled the chamber. Some argued for immediate attack. Others suggested continued diplomacy. Some wanted to demonstrate power without using it. Others believed that only overwhelming force would convince alien species to respect humanity. Ambassador Elena Vasquez spoke last. I have lived among aliens for 20 years, she said. I have learned how they think. They respect strength above all else. Mercy is seen as weakness. Fairness is seen as foolishness. The only language they truly understand is power. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. We must show them our power, but we must show it in a way that proves we are not like them. We must demonstrate that we can destroy them but choose not to. That combination, strength paired with restraint, may be the only thing that earns us true respect. Secretary General Chen considered her words. Then he gave his orders. Admiral Okonkwo, you will move the fleet to visible positions throughout Council space. You will respond to any attacks with overwhelming force. But you will not fire first. You will not target civilian populations. You will prove that humanity is powerful enough to conquer and civilized enough to choose peace. Okonkwo received these orders aboard the Prometheus. He understood their wisdom, even as he worried about their risks. Sir, said his executive officer, the Council is assembling a joint fleet. Intelligence suggests they plan a peacekeeping action against Earth. Okonkwo laughed, a sound without humor. Peacekeeping. They mean to destroy us and call it maintaining order. He turned to face his crew. Let them come. Let them see what humanity has become. The Council fleet gathered slowly. Coordination proved difficult. The crystalline hegemony could not communicate effectively with their ships. The Torellian Syndicate worried about their jump drives. The Veth Dominion demanded leadership of the combined force, but refused to commit their best vessels. Meanwhile, the Prometheus fleet took positions throughout Council space. Human ships appeared near major trade routes, within sensor range of important worlds, close enough to be seen, but not close enough to threaten. They simply waited. And then Earth broadcast a message to every species capable of receiving it. This is the United Terran Government. We do not seek war. We do not seek conquest. We seek only what was promised to us 50 years ago. An equal place in galactic civilization. Fair treatment under shared laws. Respect for our people and our achievements. Secretary General Chen's voice was calm but firm. You have one standard week to reconsider your position. We suggest you use this time wisely. Lord Kesrath refused to wait. On the fourth day of humanity's ultimatum, he ordered the Veth Dominion's remaining operational fleet to attack New Melbourne, a human colony world of 3 million people. Destroy everything, he commanded. Show these humans what happens when insects challenge their betters. 200 Veth warships entered the New Melbourne system, expecting easy victory. They found something else entirely. Admiral Okonkwo had anticipated this move. Human intelligence had tracked Veth fleet movements for weeks. When the enemy ships arrived, they found the TES Prometheus and 50 human vessels waiting for them. The Veth Admiral laughed at the numbers. 200 against 50. Even with superior technology, humanity could not overcome such odds. He was wrong. The battle lasted 11 minutes. Human kinetic accelerators fired first, launching dense metal projectiles at 90% of light speed. At such velocities, even small objects carried the energy of nuclear weapons. Veth shields, designed to stop energy beams, offered no protection against solid matter moving that fast. 30 Veth ships died in the first volley. The survivors attempted to return fire, but human electronic warfare systems confused their targeting computers. Missiles flew wild. Energy beams struck empty space. Meanwhile, human drone swarms, launched from carrier ships, and began eating through Veth hulls. These drones were small, no larger than a human hand, but they reproduced using the metal they consumed. 100 drones became 1,000. 1,000 became 10,000. Veth ships found themselves covered in machines that chewed through armor like hungry insects. When Veth captains ordered their crews to abandon ship, human vessels moved in. But instead of destroying the escape pods, they captured them. Every Veth survivor was taken alive. Lord Kesrath's flagship was the last to fall. Human marines in powered armor cut through the ship's corridors with terrifying efficiency. Veth warriors who had never known defeat found themselves facing soldiers who moved faster, hit harder, and felt no fear. Kesrath made his final stand on the bridge. 20 of his personal guards surrounded him, ready to die protecting their lord. The Marines gave them the chance. When the fighting ended, Kesrath stood alone among the bodies of his guards. His ceremonial blade hung useless at his side. Human soldiers aimed weapons at him from every direction. A Marine commander removed her helmet. She was a small human woman with gray hair and calm eyes. "Lord Kesrath," she said, "you are under arrest for ordering an unprovoked attack on a civilian population. Please come with us." Kesrath could not understand. He had lost, completely and utterly. By every rule he knew, the humans should kill him now. That was what victors did to defeated enemies. "Why?" he managed to ask. "Why not simply destroy me?" The commander looked at him with something that might have been pity. "Because we are not you," she said. Across the galaxy, species watched recordings of the battle in stunned silence. The Veth Dominion, the most powerful military force in known space, had been crushed in minutes, and humanity had done it without losing a single ship. But what shocked alien observers most was what happened next. Human vessels rescued Veth survivors. Medical teams treated wounded enemies. Prisoners were given food, water, and comfortable quarters. This was not how wars were fought. This was not how winners treated losers. The crystalline hegemony's matriarch contacted Earth within hours. Her message was brief and humble. "I apologize for my words at the council session. The hegemony wishes to negotiate new terms of cooperation with humanity. We recognize that our previous attitudes were mistaken. The Torellian Syndicate sent similar messages. So did dozens of other species who had laughed at humanity just days before." Ambassador Elena Vasquez held a press conference to respond. "We accept these expressions of regret," she said, "but we have learned that words mean little without actions. Any species wishing to establish new relations with Earth must prove their commitment through concrete changes." She listed humanity's requirements: fair trade agreements, equal representation in galactic institutions, an end to exploitation and discrimination, recognition of human achievements and contributions. "These terms are not negotiable," Elena concluded. "You may accept them or refuse them, but know this: we have shown you what we can do. We have also shown you what we choose not to do. It is a gift. We suggest you accept it gratefully." Lord Kesrath was brought to Earth for trial. He walked through the halls of the United Terran Government headquarters, surrounded by guards, but treated with formal courtesy. Humans stopped to stare at him, this alien lord who had mocked their species so recently. He expected hatred. He found curiosity instead. Secretary General Chen met with Kesrath personally before the trial began. "I want to understand something," Chen said. "You have lived for 300 years. You have conquered dozens of species. You have never lost a war." He leaned forward. "Why did you attack us? You must have known we would respond." Kesrath was silent for a long moment. "I thought you were bluffing," he finally admitted. "I thought your fleet was a trick, paper ships to scare children." He shook his head slowly. "I could not imagine that humans had truly done what you did, built an empire of influence without anyone noticing. Created weapons that surpassed ours. Hidden your strength for 50 years while we insulted you. He looked at Chen with something approaching respect. Your species is terrifying, Kesrath said, not because of your power, because of your patience. You waited until you could not lose, and then you waited longer still. You gave us every chance to treat you fairly. We refused. His 4 eyes closed, and now we face the consequences of our arrogance. Chen nodded slowly. Yes, you do. The trial lasted 3 days. Kesrath was found guilty of war crimes and sentenced to witness the reconstruction of the worlds his people had destroyed over the centuries. He would spend the rest of his long life watching others repair the damage he had caused. It was, humans believed, a more fitting punishment than death. And across the galaxy, the message was received clearly. Humanity could have conquered. They chose not to. That choice was more frightening than any weapon they possessed. 1 year after the Battle of New Melbourne, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. Humanity's platform had moved from the outer edge to the inner circle. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat among the eldest and most respected species, her voice carrying equal weight to any other. The changes went far beyond seating arrangements. New treaties governed relations between species. These documents, written with human participation, established genuine equality. Trade agreements no longer favored powerful species over weaker ones. Technology sharing flowed both ways, instead of just from humans to everyone else. Most importantly, every species now had the right to develop their own capabilities without interference. The Veth Dominion had changed most dramatically. Their military was gone, dismantled ship by ship under human supervision. Their conquered territories had been freed. Their government had been replaced by elected councils that answered to citizens rather than lords. Former slaves on Veth worlds walked free for the first time in generations. Human aid workers helped them rebuild their societies. It was strange work, teaching people how to live without masters. But humans understood something about freedom that older species had forgotten. Lord Kesrath watched these changes from a small room on a former Veth colony world. His sentence required him to witness reconstruction efforts, to see the suffering his people had caused being slowly repaired. Sometimes, former slaves recognized him. They would stop and stare at the fallen lord, this being who had once held the power of life and death over billions. Most simply walked away. A few spat in his direction. Kesrath accepted it all. He had finally learned something that 300 years of victory had never taught him. Power meant nothing without wisdom. Conquest meant nothing without justice. He had spent his life taking, and now he had nothing left. Not everyone accepted the new order peacefully. A coalition of former powers met in secret, planning resistance. The crystalline hegemony's military faction refused to accept that their empire had been humbled. Torellian officers dreamed of revenge. Representatives from a dozen species discussed weapons development, espionage, and sabotage. They did not know that human intelligence had infiltrated their meetings from the beginning. Director Sarah Park reviewed transcripts of these secret discussions and smiled grimly. She commanded Earth's intelligence services, a network that spanned the galaxy. Her agents occupied positions in every major alien government. They knew secrets that alien leaders thought were safely hidden. "Should we act?" asked one of her subordinates. "We could expose them, arrest the leaders, end this conspiracy before it begins." Park shook her head. "Not yet. Let them plot. Let them scheme. Let them feel like they still have power." She turned back to her displays showing alien communications. "We will watch. We will wait. And if they ever actually threaten humanity, we will remind them why that is a mistake." This was the lesson humanity had learned. Vigilance never ended. Peace required constant effort. The galaxy might accept humans as equals now, but old habits died slowly. Some species would always dream of returning to the old ways. Humanity would be ready. Ambassador Elena Vasquez addressed the reconstructed council on the anniversary of what humans called the Revelation. Her speech was broadcast to every inhabited world. 1 year ago, humanity showed the galaxy its true face. Some of you saw monsters. Some of you saw saviors. Most of you simply saw something unexpected. She paused, looking around the vast chamber. But you did not see the whole truth, because we did not show you everything. Murmurs spread through the assembled delegates. We could have conquered you. Our weapons are stronger than you knew. Our networks are deeper than you imagined. In the first days after we withdrew from our treaties, we could have brought every species to its knees. She let that statement hang in the air. We chose not to. Not because we are weak, not because we are foolish, but because conquest was never our goal. We wanted to live alongside you. We wanted to build something together, something better than the galaxy you had created. Elena stepped forward, her voice growing stronger. You forced us to become warriors. You forced us to prepare for the worst. But even now, after everything that has happened, we still hope for something more. We hope that this crisis has taught all of us that cooperation is better than domination, that respect is better than fear, that the galaxy can be a place where all species thrive together. She smiled, a genuine expression that reached her eyes. We are willing to try if you are. But know this, we will never again accept anything less than equality. We will never again allow ourselves to be mocked and exploited. The humans you see now are not the humans who came begging for acceptance 50 years ago. We have changed, and we will not change back. The council responded with a standing ovation. Even species who secretly resented humanity's rise joined in the applause. They understood that resistance was pointless, better to adapt than to be swept away. On Earth, Secretary General Marcus Chen watched the ceremony from his retirement home. He was old now, his health failing. Soon he would pass on, and new leaders would guide humanity through whatever challenges came next. But tonight, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. He had been a young politician when humanity made first contact. He remembered the fear of those early days. Would the aliens destroy them, enslave them, simply ignore them? The possibilities had seemed endless, and most of them had been terrible. He had spent his career preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. Now, at the end of his life, he saw that his preparations had been worthwhile. Humanity had survived, more than survived. They had risen to become one of the most respected species in the galaxy. But Chen also felt a quiet sadness. What have we become? He whispered to himself. 50 years ago, humans had entered the galaxy as hopeful explorers. They had believed in cooperation and peace. They had wanted to learn from older species and share their own gifts with the universe. Now they were something else. Warriors, manipulators, players of power games they had once found distasteful. They had survived, yes, but at what cost? Chen looked out at the night sky, at the stars that now belonged to humanity as much as any other species. Was it worth it? He asked the darkness. Could we have found another way? No answer came. Perhaps none existed. Perhaps the galaxy had simply been what it was, and humanity had adapted or died. Perhaps the choice had never been about idealism versus survival. Perhaps it had always been both. Chen closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new threats, new opportunities. Humanity would face them as they always had, with cleverness and determination and the hope that someday, somehow, things would get better. They had entered the galaxy as hopeful explorers and emerged as something else entirely. Something even they did not fully understand. The universe had taught humanity that peace was only possible when enemies believed war was unwinnable. It was a lesson they would never forget, and one they hoped they would never have to teach again.